Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Welcome everyone to this panel, the second panel of the 20th SDEWES conference. Again, thank you for being here. Today's topic is basically focused on nuclear in an integrated energy transition, compatibility with high variable renewable energy in sector coupling. So for this topic, we have four experts who are going to basically be discussing with us the potential for nuclear energy in this context. I would like to start introducing Professor Christoph Badida. Professor Badida is full professor employed at the Institute of Heat Engineering. Previously Deputy Dean of the Faculty and Director of the Institute, he deals with thermal power, environmental protection in the power generation plants, cogeneration, and renewable energy sources. So I invite Professor Badida to give us your introductory speech.
Thank you very much. How can I start this presentation? Share. Could you help me? I need help, technical help. Excuse me.
Okay.
Okay, and good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. I hope I can have possibility to give you some interesting informations. Firstly, a few words about history and trends. In Europe, we have today to do with different concepts of the role of nuclear power in the individual countries. Example includes Germany, where nuclear energy has been phased out. It is a consequence of Fukushima. France, where nuclear energy plays a key role, and my country, Poland, where construction of the Żarnowiec nuclear power plant was stopped in early 90s. Today, Poland's energy policy and the National Energy and Climate Plan emphasizes the construction of new units, probably up to 2040, it could be more or less 6,000 megawatts of installed capacity. Will be or not will be, this is next question. Because I can tell I'm working since many years. I started in nuclear power as a student. My diploma was joined with this unit built in Żarnowiec to build from this condensing unit combined heated power plant. And unfortunately, up to date, I cannot repeat that in the nearest future we will have this power plant. We should wait more than 10 years probably. Another examples are, for example, Austria, where they have built, finished erection of the nuclear plant, and it is never started. Italy, where 4 nuclear reactors were closed, 1990, last 2. There are different stories. And Croatia, Croatia has no nuclear power. Now about structure of dynamics of installed capacity increase in Poland. You can observe since 1960 up to 2024 the dynamics of the structure, and final information is shown on the right side. Installed capacity on the end of 2040 was 72,000 megawatts. Over 72,000 megawatts. In this structure, more than 44% was wind or solar capacity, and more or less similar output was lignite and hard coal common. But its structure in installed capacity, if we would like to analyze structure of the production, 70% was produced in coal power plants, and more or less 30% using renewables. Excluding water, hydro is in Poland a very small part of installed capacity and less than 1% of the produced energy. Now about history of our Żarnowiec pumped hydro power station, which was built common with our future not finished Żarnowiec power plant. You can see on the picture, firstly, large 4 tubes. They are tubes which deliver water from upper lake to the lower lake. The upper lake is artificial, the lower is natural, Żarnowiec Lake. You can see building of, how I remember, it's not possible to show it on the screen using probably mouse. Mouse, is it working? Yes. Here, can you see the building? Here you can see these 4 tubes, and here you can see my person. And this is lower part of the building where these 4 tubes are delivering water to the water turbines. Diameter over 8 meters and installed capacity at 100 megawatt. The installed capacity of our nuclear power plant was planned more than 1,500 megawatt. 4 units, 460 megawatt class. And you can observe here this plant. Here are these tubes building, this main building of the power plant, and here is not finished investment, our not finished nuclear power plant, never erected, never destroyed up to finish. It's a kind of not interesting today. Another example for power plant cooperating with nuclear power is Huntorf compressed air energy storage, erected 1978. And they is working common with Unterweser nuclear power plant. The nuclear power plant is not no more working, and this one is now working common with renewables. You can see here that compressed air energy storage needs not so much area like artificial or lakes in pumped hydro installation. For accumulation of the medium are used salt caverns, shown here. In this power plant, over 330,000 cubic meter volume. And output of this power plant is 300 megawatt. Now about renewables in Poland. This large amount for today, 30% of installed capacity, but ability to deliver in summer full output for few hours during day. This is source of problem if we have surplus energy and generation ability, we need curtailment or accumulation of the generated energy or we cannot generate energy, it's curtailment, is this problem. And what you can see, 2025 is this red curve. Over 1 terawatt hour of our generated electricity was not delivered because it was not placed for them. We are producing in our countries 170, more or less 170 terawatt hours per year. 30% renewables. It means that one of 60, more or less 50, 60 terawatt hours is not delivered. They are 2-3%. That's not low. And this problem is international. In Poland, we are seeing it since 2-3 years. In other countries like Germany are solving this problem since a longer time. Example for August 2024. What you can see here on the right side, you can see legend. What kind of the units deliver energy? It's shown on the vertical axis is output for the class of the units. For example, you can see these peaks. Orange peaks is PV, very hard peaks. Hard coal power plants must work to compensate these peaks. Because it's large installed capacity, we have not another possibility to use it. Lignite is adding for that. The steam power plants are not able to work so dynamic. They will live not long time. Natural gas power plants in Poland are used mostly for combined heat and power, and they are not able to be dynamic to work. We are building now condensing power plants using natural gas for burning, and they will help us in the future. You can see the wind, this wind onshore. We have not offshore. From time to time, generation is high, and from time to time near to zero. This is August. Compare now December. In our condition, in December, we have no solar power. Nothing. Small peaks. And all of the delivered energy is hard coal and lignite. Natural gas, this green line, is combined heat and power. The compensation of the needs or delivering of the energy main source is in this time hard coal. Now about Polish grid projection for 2040. On the right side, you can see the structure for this time. Renewables very large grow. Storage capacities, batteries, battery energy storage systems, and hydro, pumping hydro, this is more or less in the installed capacity 13%. Natural gas growing from 6 to 12%, and nuclear more or less 5%. This is 5,000 megawatts of installed capacity, which should be over 160 gigawatts, as you can see. Now, next problem. Nuclear power plants are sensitive to load changes, and they should be operated at practically their full capacity. It's an economic problem. Measures to improve their flexibility are today crucial. And during this conference, we have a new proposal presented in our paper, Enhancing Grid Stability with Renewable Energy Sources by Integrating Thermal Energy Storage into Nuclear Power Plants for Load Balancing with it was with my participation, and you can see here is the paper number, and this study evaluates the feasibility of integrating steam accumulator-based thermal energy storage into the nuclear power plant secondary circuit to enable intraday grid stabilization, addressing renewable energy source intermittency in Poland projected 2040 energy system. Thermal energy storage, it is steam accumulator, roots accumulator, accounting for the pressure losses in the steam to thermal energy storage and to thermal energy storage, steam generator to thermal energy storage and thermal energy storage to turbine connecting pipelines. You can see here how is it organized. Thermal energy storage here is visible. Sorry, now I can see my. Just a moment. Here is a description of the tank. Here is the place of the thermal energy storage in our scheme of this unit. We have analyzed the unit 1,600 megawatt class, and thermal energy storage was joined directly from steam generator, live steam. And steam from thermal energy storage was delivered to the superheater, one here, this line. Detailed description is in our paper. Results. It's, in my opinion, very interesting because the round trip efficiency of this unit is not very high, less than 80% in comparison to lithium batteries. Their efficiency is much higher, 85% more or less. This comparison is made for the same energy capacity for our more or less 6,000 megawatt installed capacity, and as you can see, is more or less 460 megawatt hours. The maximum power decrease for our thermal energy storage is relatively high. Power increase is used by enlarged steam flow to the low pressure part of the steam turbine, but lifetime for this unit expected is for more or less 60 years, for battery energy storage 15 years only, and the cost, estimated cost is for batteries 3 times or more higher. It means that our solution solves not problem, but is one of the ways which is more effective like battery energy storage, and it's a result of our comparison here. You can see conclusions. I think I should stop my presentation, and you can read conclusions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we go with the next panelist, Dr. Dmitry Bogdanov. Dr. Bogdanov is a postdoctoral researcher in the Solar Economy Laboratory at LUT University. His work focuses on energy system modeling and transition pathways towards sustainable defossilized energy system at both global and local levels. His research interests include sector coupling, regional integration, long-term interannual energy storage, and other potential sources of flexibility in future integrated energy systems. So please, you have now 5 minutes for your introductory speech.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, it's very nice to be here. And unfortunately, I don't have the slides today, so I will just speak about the work we did. And many of you can be familiar with my studies, the studies of our group, Professor Christian Breyer group. And you can see that in our studies, we always target defossilized energy system, which should be built by 2050, 2040, 2060. And in most of these cases, we reach this defossilized energy system without use of nuclear. It's possible to reach 100% renewable supply in the future energy system. And it has nothing to do with ideology. Our model is technology neutral. All technologies are enabled, but with the cost and technical assumptions we use, the system cannot find a place for nuclear in the current or future energy system. So it follows the cost-driven decisions, but real decision-making doesn't always follow it. And recently, during COP28, list of countries, 25 countries, pledged to increase nuclear capacity 3 times by 2050. And unfortunately, Finland was one of these countries. And that brought us to idea to do similar study, urge the model to build such a system, and see and show to others how such system will look like. Because any proper engineer mindset is that anything is technically possible if it doesn't contradict laws of physics. But the question is amount of resources you will need to spend to reach this, and what are the consequences of this. So overall, what will be the costs of this decision? So we made this study. It was published recently, and long story short, the results show that such a system with tripled nuclear capacity for Finland from nearly 4 gigawatts to 12 gigawatts by 2050 is possible. But cost is huge. Levelized cost of electricity increased by more than 100% compared to technology neutral simulation. Levelized cost of the system, if we take all the energy carriers into account, increased by 70–80%, but still quite substantial increase. And when we do simulations with our model, your model, any other model, and use realistic cost and technical assumptions, we use that future integrated energy system will have plenty of flexibility from integration of other sectors, from electrification of these sectors, and recent updates in electricity storage costs further supports this claim. There will be low-cost opportunities to balance energy demand and variable renewables energy supply. So currently, I don't see any necessity to have nuclear as a part of future energy system. It's not necessary, technically necessary. We can build this energy system with other more sustainable resources. And if we talk about the costs, the decision is also quite clear. Renewables and energy storage options are getting cheaper and cheaper, which we cannot say for nuclear at the same time. So please check our publication. It's online. It was recently published with Energy Journal. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Benedetto, please. Our next speaker is Professor Benedetto Anastasi. Dr. Anastasi is an associate professor and senior energy planner at the Department of Industrial Engineering at Tor Vergata University of Rome. He got the PhD title with honors from Sapienza University of Rome with a dissertation in energy systems planning and design. The core of his thesis was published in Energy and became one of the most cited papers in 2016. He was rewarded with the best poster, at the second Southeast Europe SDEWES conference in 2016. Professor Benedetto, please, you have 5 minutes for your introductory speech.
Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you, Felipe, for the invitation. My presentation starts with this title. So this nuclear energy is mainly a dichotomy between continuing to have it for countries that already have nuclear, and continuing to avoid it for those that doesn't have yet. And I will show you something about Italy, that is my country. We should start with some strong remarks published from International Energy Agency, Nuclear Energy Agency, so institution that would like to promote nuclear energy. So first of all, LCOE of nuclear energy will be profitable mainly due to the expansion of the lifetime of the existing power plants. Secondly, something that usually is not said, nuclear is not an energy choice. Nuclear is firstly some strategic choice for a country. Then first defense, then also energy, of course. And this leads also to another consideration. Are we sure that we can really count the cost of nuclear energy, since there will be some secret budget of the Ministry of Defense? Of course, they are going to buy uranium for something else. And finally, that's the point. We should keep this difference when we are talking to the different countries. So we are not saying nuclear energy, no. We are talking always on mix, technology mix, but there are differences if the country already has it or not. If we look at the current geopolitical situation, means that, for instance, some country in Europe would like to go for nuclear, means that most probably you will buy some European technology. And at the moment, only France in Europe is delivering it. The rest is Russian or Chinese technology that most probably we are not going to promote, especially if we want to be aligned to the Draghi reports or generally on the competitiveness of the European system. When we talk about new plants, we should see the reality. That means if you promise a new nuclear plant in 6 years, then finally maybe you will get it in 12 years. So basically, the problem is time of construction compare of time of our energy policy. So we can do it, but then we are not going to achieve the targets for 2030, 40, and 50. The same for the supply of the raw material that we should use. And okay, so looking at mainly Russia, Canada, Kazakhstan, Niger, and something else, most probably only Canada can be considered a reliable supplier. We are talking always about energy security. I would stress that nuclear is mainly security. Then I don't know how it's connected to energy security, at least if you don't want to be, as I said in the first slide, one of the countries that use the nuclear deterrents. And that's why in the news we noticed that Germany is not seen anymore as an actor, for instance, with the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, because are UK and France, that they have nuclear weapons, so they can protect Europe. And when we want to talk about some country, and Germany, no, starting from the Energiewende, can be still a reference for energy. So the LCOE of existing plants that were shut down is already higher than PV in Germany. Okay, so this should be the base, for instance, for some Italian politicians if we want to speak about money. And another buzzword is small modular reactor. Why is this a buzzword for European people? First of all, we don't have any small modular reactor made in Europe. The only two that we have information that are running at the moment is one in China and one in Russia, Nuclear Energy Agency source. And the interesting part was, I usually use these slides in my energy planning course. In June 2024, the only supplier of nuclear technology in Europe withdrew from the largest project of modular reactor in UK, something about €7 million project. Let's go to Italy case to give some food for thoughts. Okay, so we can start with the word creativity, because of course we don't have any nuclear yet. But in 10 years, we expect our integrated plan for climate and energy to have 0.4 gigawatt of nuclear power in operation. Today is 7 October 2025, in 10 years. There are no plants that were built in 10 years, unless you refer to China. And then this growth is seen for 2040, 2045, and then is the peak of creativity. In the plan, there is in operation a fusion nuclear energy plant in 2050 for an amount of 400 megawatt. I came from a department of industrial engineering that is currently leading the largest project in fusion. It's a prototype. It's the largest fusion project in Europe. It's the construction of a prototype of the DTT, diverter tokamak technology. I see my colleague. Most of them are still doing simulation. So that means a little bit of, but creativity can go further. So when we consider SOE as a base for any thinking, we look at the SOE in Germany. And already it's not competitive with PV in Germany. I leave you to guess PV price in Italy. And the most representative country in Europe, so France, for the construction of the last reactor, so the Flamanville, that was expected to cost 3.3 billion euro to French citizens, already spent 17 billion euro, is not finished yet, and is also a political case. Peak of creativity. Someone in Italy proposed something that is technically maybe the best solution. If you just limit it as an exercise, if you have a nuclear submarine connected to the harbor of the ports, where most probably you have already some factory or some steel industry, then you have already the electricity infrastructure to able to have this electricity production, then you have cooling from the seawater. Fine. Okay, just a reminder, nuclear is first a security choice, so Italy doesn't have any nuclear, so you need to buy these submarines. Who is the provider, supplier of these submarines? A credible one, a reliable one? US. Okay, we need to have some kind of impact on our energy system that has a demand of around 330 terawatt hours per year, at least 14 submarines. There is a specific case for this electricity production that are the Virginia class SG9, if you want to see the model. We are talking about 200 megawatt thermal connected to two turbines of 30 megawatt. I don't want to bother you on this. And they cost around 5 billion of US dollars. Okay, even if the current exchange is in favor of euro, but it's a lot of money. But the funny thing is, US is producing 1.3 submarine per year. So we need to wait at least 10 years, first of all. Secondly, maybe some friendship with US will give all the submarines to us, rather than maybe populate the sea, especially in the north, for obvious geopolitical reason. And then, even if they want to increase, as the last Trump action that was approved, they want to improve this amount of submarine produced, they spend like $30 billion to just increase from 1.3 to 2 submarines per year. Still, of course, to supply Italy for its nuclear ambition. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Benedetto. Yes, so our last speaker, it's Dr. Jakob Tellufsen from Aalborg University. Dr. Thelupsen is an associate professor in energy systems analysis at Aalborg University. He works with the development of energy systems analysis tools with a special focus on expanding approaches for the decarbonization of the energy system. His main research areas concern energy system analysis, district heating, energy saving, climate neutral societies, and the integration of various parts of the energy system through energy systems analysis.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation to join this panel. Yeah, so my argument and my offset will be this, I think, discussion that there is a competition between renewable and nuclear we have to talk about when we actually start to implementing into the system. Nuclear is not a flexible production technology that will offset only in the hours when there will be little wind or little solar, and I will try and make some arguments for that in some of the studies we have done. So I think the first off, what you have to realize is, and this is from the IEA, that costs and building times, I think we already heard this, is higher than what you expect when you start to build nuclear. So these are cases in the UK, in Europe, in the US, in the Middle East, and in Korea. And in all cases now we're looking, if you just take the European cases here, we are looking at costs in Finland around $6,000 to $7,000 for a kilowatt. And then all the way up to now in England, it's probably even higher than 16,000 with the latest projections on Hinkley Point. So this means when you have such an expensive technology, you need to run it all the time to make money back for it. But of course, maybe there are options. Renewable energies, we all know they're variable. They produce when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining. So maybe here with a constant production, maybe we can gain some benefits that could offset this higher export, at least, or higher output of energy. At least that was what we were trying to show and discuss in some of the recent work we've done. And this is just to compare how levelized cost of energy on nuclear plants, the orange charts, compared to from concrete renewable projects, the blue are wind, offshore wind, and the green is onshore wind, and yellow is PV, just from European or Danish costs. And then the one to the right are lifetime extensions with or without extra investments, and costs in China and in the United Arab Emirates. However, when we look at it, so you can see, okay, here's this cost. Very clearly, it's more expensive on a LCOE level, but on the other hand, we know, as I said, we need a system analysis to actually see how it's producing. So in our recent paper, we investigated this in a Danish smart energy system where we get all the flexibility measures from the system, more or less, so sector coupling, sector integration. And what it actually allows us to do is to quite closely, if you look at the box to the left, that is a renewable energy system, we are quite close to actually following the load or the production of the renewables simply by having electrolysis, smart charging of vehicles, heat storage, thermal storages for your district heating systems where you use electric heat pumps or electric heating. And you can do that. And vice versa, you can also do it for a nuclear system on the right, where we have a lot more nuclear. Now we have an average load here around 7,000 megawatts, 7 gigawatt in Denmark. And you can do it, and then your system integration things changes. Now it's based on you can say on the daytime, you lower your hydrogen production, and then at nighttime to keep your nuclear constant, you increase it. So you could do some savings in the flexibility of the system, but that savings are by far not enough to compensate for how much more expensive nuclear power is. So when we look at it, and that's the upper right hand, and I know it's a little small, but basically, it says it's probably on an annual basis in a Danish context, that's around 6 million people, it's around 1.5 billion euro, 1.5 billion euro annually more expensive to run a nuclear system, 100% decarbonized in 2045 than it would be if you only had renewables in your system. And then finally, just to have a European perspective, in the same study, we also did we had some analysis on if you wanted to do a greenfield investment across nuclear. So 100%, the one upper hand to the left, also called baseline, is nuclear cost similar to the one in Finland, so around 6.5 million euro per megawatt. And no country in a European country should, in a greenfield solution in 2050, is it economically feasible to actually invest in nuclear for a renewable or decarbonized energy system transition. Only when we get costs around 50%, we see certain countries starting to invest. But what you can also see from the graph to the right, that is the total annual cost. That is basically the same as the 75% or the 100% one. So you really have to get costs that are a quarter. So we're now talking 2 million euro per megawatt to even see nuclear really being a competitor in the energy system, which is far below anything that is realistically feasible in the future, I think, and even today, of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introductory speech. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So what we will do now, we'll go through a round of questions from my side, probably 1 or 2 rounds, depending on the time. And then I'm going to open the question for the public. So I would like to start with Professor Vaidida, based on your presentation. Very interesting as well. But we were also discussing about possibilities of energy storage through nuclear. And you said you wanted to basically speak about some of the possibilities in this line of research. So I want to give you the opportunity to also discuss about these opportunities for energy storage through nuclear energy.
Thank you very much. But if possible, I would like to comment my co-panelists' informations, because I agree with all these informations. Nuclear power today is very expensive. Cost of electricity estimated for our conditions in Poland now officially is 500 zloty. It's more than 100 euro per megawatt hour. But it is if it will be work in the base load conditions. 93% of use of installed capacity. It's probably in our current conditions not possible. Why? Because firstly, we will not have such permission from European Community. Czech Republic, where it was project for new 5-class megawatt, 500 megawatt unit, they stopped after decision of European Commission their investment. I expect that probably we should stop it in the future too. But now we are investing and waiting for the decision. Decision is more or less 2 years. And I think it could be a problem, because expected price of the electricity, if it will be not work in base load, it's probably more or less 2,000 zloty. It means 500 euro per megawatt hour. It will be a catastrophe. I'm repeating many times old joke. In the past, when it was before shutdown of nuclear power in Germany, I spoke to my German colleagues. Rent us, please, your last working nuclear power plants. We will be happy, we will have. And you will be happy, you will stop your nuclear activity. And today it's not more possible, because German activities are stopped. Of course, now something about possibilities of energy storage between nuclear power plants, cooperation between nuclear power plants and different technologies of energy storage. It was commented hydro, pumped hydro. I have shown example for Poland. I have shown compressed air energy storage is an example for Germany, but it was Huntorf. It was the first compressed air energy storage power plant built in the world. Next one is built in the United States, and long time, no more. Now, new such units were erected in China. And I don't know what is the role is of these plants, but probably they could cooperate with renewables or nuclear power. The next possibility is, for example, lithium battery storage. It's a technology which is now introduced in many countries and is relatively expensive and able to work not very long time, 4-5 hours. We should expect technologies which are able to store energy for longer time. It's period in November, this kind of flauta, no wind, no solar, and Dunkelflaute in German, where the long time we should expect delivering of the energy. If it should be renewable energy, we should have huge storage capacities. And electrolysis is technology which gives a chance to introduce hydrogen for hydrogen fueled gas turbines. If we have hydrogen from electrolysis, we have oxygen too. And fuel technologies are interesting proposal for this situation. Of course, today electrolysis is very expensive, but prognosis for 2040-50 are showing that cost of hydrogen will be comparable with today's costs of hydrogen from traditional sources. Water desalination plants. It's very interesting. I spoke today with a lady from Dubai. They would like to build such reactor for desalination. It's a large problem in Dubai to have fresh water, and water from desalination plants is delivered using fossil fuel, natural gas, and oil. I think desalination, working of nuclear power plant for desalination for many countries, it could be chance to work during dynamic states of power needs. Power to fuel, all technologies like green methane, green ammonia. Ammonia and methane are fuels which can be used for gas turbines, and our technology, of course. It's a marginal problem because it's not large-scale possibility for accumulation, but relative cheap. I think it's, of course, not full list because liquid energy storage is not large scale today, but it's a kind of future technology which could be used, and mechanical energy storage, different technologies which are used in a lower scale, but they are able to cooperate with nuclear power too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Professor Bogdanov, I want to give you the opportunity to reply. Basically, two topics. You have run with your group many scenarios based on 100% renewable energy systems. And I wonder if in any of these cases you ever tested Dunkelflaute, basically days without sufficient wind energy or, basically periods with long periods without access to renewable energy. And if basically in those cases, what are the technologies that actually provide supply when you don't have access to renewable energy? Is it nuclear? Is it maybe pump hydro or any other of long-term seasonal storage?
Thank you for the question. This Dunkelflaute, I'm not that good in German, is a real issue, and it's discussed quite often. But it's not really that no wind and no PV power available. In these hours, you can see tiny, very small capacity factors, but non-zero capacity factors. And the trick is that in the future energy system, we'll have so huge demand for other flexible application, for power to X, as we discussed, for industry, for transport charging, that the share of non-flexible power consumption will be so small, while the power generation is so great that in most of the cases, these tiny little capacity factors which are still available provide enough energy to supply this non-flexible power demand. Of course, the system still can use some of hydrogen, which was generated as a feedstock for e-fuels generation, and use it in already built gas turbines, because we have built fleets of gas turbines, and gas turbines are still built all around Europe, and then can be refueled to use or blend in or use clean hydrogen. And in the extreme cases, this hydrogen can be used to provide power back to the grid. But when we started with power system, and then it was a huge issue. The system had to have huge seasonal storage of methane or hydrogen. But when we were adding these sectors, electrifying sectors, enabling its flexibility, we saw that this flow of power to X, X to power, was going smaller and smaller, and these days, in most of the cases, it's almost negligible. Yeah, that's my point.
Thanks. Benedetto, you spoke about security of supply, and I was doing looking some indicators this morning, and I actually found that the European Union is actually being supplied almost 15% by Russia for uranium, and 25% enrichment as well. Your thoughts?
It's certainly a geopolitical issue because, as I tried to stress before, it's first security, then is energy security. So we cannot say we are not going to buy the power plant as a Russian technology, and then we buy the raw material to supply our plant. So this is something that, since Italy, in this case, is a country that should start from scratch, can decide to do it. I'm technological neutral, so I'm not saying nuclear is not good. But nuclear can be a chance, maybe. Other studies maybe demonstrate not exactly the best solution. For those who already have it, they already have a consolidated supply, maybe they already diversify the supply. So I showed in the slide, for instance, Canada as a possible friendly supplier, but that means decisions that are maybe outside control of just energy system, because we don't know in this geopolitical situation how will be considered the most suitable nuclear deterrence power that should be used by the different countries, and what should be declared as nuclear deterrence, what not, what is think in terms of geopolitics. So still, since we should start from scratch, okay, there are already too many barriers and there is no cost profitability to start from scratch. That's the point.
Thank you. Jacob, I was also going through your papers this morning, and very interesting plots you also showed. And I understand that basically many of the scenarios that you and also Dimitri have run basically don't foresee any new nuclear coming into play. But when looking ahead, new investments that basically should come to guarantee sustainable, futures or renewable systems. But what about giving some credit to existing capacity What is the role that you see in the current, for instance, installed capacity in Europe, and how the existing capacity actually helps to integrate new investments of wind and solar by 2030, 2035, 2040, and so on? Or do you think this is not actually needed?
I think it's two things. One thing is the existing capacity, where if you're able to achieve low lifetime extension cost, you can say from a climate perspective, there can be economic good reasons for keeping existing nuclear running as long as it's feasible for you as a country or as Europe or wherever. I think the hard part can be how long term can you keep that lifetime extension going. One thing is doing it one time or two times. You also have a steam turbine you need to replace at some point. So you have to make strategic decisions, and maybe not. That can be a good thing or a bad thing for renewable transition as well, because if you keep lifetime extending these things, you're also postponing maybe other decisions that you would have to make anyway in the future. So of course there's some political decisions you have to have on that, but short term you can say sure, with the economic cost of just a lifetime extension, and you disregard you utilize all the investments you already made into the nuclear, there could be a potential, but I don't see it either as a strong positive thing for a renewable transition. I can maybe more see it can also be a problem if you look into it from we have to make this decision now, we're postponing it 20 more years, and at some point you probably need to replace it, and by that, our studies show there's new nuclear is from an energy point of view quite infeasible, and if you're now building a lot of renewables, what we will see is the renewables will come in, they will introduce a lower electricity price into the market, meaning your nuclear is now operating less and less because maybe it cannot compete on the electricity prices that the new renewables are able to achieve, which then will force lower and lower operation hours also.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Back to Professor Padilla, a good question on, since you are mostly an expert on nuclear energy, what are your views about disposal and waste management? You showed that this new technology can actually run or last for, or has a lifetime of 60 years, but what about after that? Do you have any views or thoughts on environmental impacts, societal readiness, and what to do with environmental impacts and waste after the lifetime of the nuclear power plants?
This is a large problem, and what can I do? Robert Young was author of the book, Atomic Country. I don't remember English version of the title, but I remember many years ago this book in which it was described a critical situation with nuclear fuel in France, that it's ecological catastrophe. And I think it's dangerous. We should remember that these components of nuclear fuel should wait thousands of the years to be no more active. And we have no technologies to close it for thousands of the years safe. It's a future for our children and children of our children and so on. And I think it's one of very important factors if we speak about this problem. If possible, I would like to add about economic side something. I'm representing not only Warsaw University of Technology, I'm representing Polish Economic Chamber of Renewable and Distributed Energy. I'm president of the board. And our specialists in this chamber are analyzing a future of Polish power system, with where in the analysis they are showing that the future without nuclear power in Poland is possible. It will be cheaper. It's enough to have such technology which were here by Professor Bogdanov and me introduced and which could be used for a stable delivery of energy in the future. I hope it's probably better future than this nuclear power. 50 years ago, when I started as a student, the idea of nuclear future was probably not so difficult like we can see it today, because we have Chernobyl, we have Fukushima, we have another problems which we should solve. Remember that in Ukraine we have stable war and very huge danger for nuclear power plants located in Ukraine. If we are thinking that we will build in our countries new nuclear power plants, this is probably a possibility to destroy our countries using conventional bombs. And I think it's another factor which should we remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Dimitri, one more question for you. What about using nuclear energy, as Professor Vadida was saying, maybe to supply fuels that can be actually used to decarbonize hard-to-abate sector? One of the main issues, for instance, in industry is basically reaching high temperature to decarbonize some industrial sectors. So do you see actually nuclear being a solution in that perspective, or you actually see different technologies playing an important role in hard-to-abate sectors?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, that's indeed very important, and I guess it was touched by in the presentation before, that we need to do actions now, because we have growing energy demand for many different applications. We need it for power to X, we need it for other sectors, for industry, but we need it now. And nuclear cannot provide additional energy now. It can provide it maybe in 10, 15, 20 years. And we need to take into account that the problem is actually bigger. We are in Europe, and the fleet of existing power capacity is quite old. So we don't need to just build new capacities. At the same time, we need to reinvest in the existing capacities just to make the system working. And if we delay decisions, waiting for nuclear to be built in 15 years to provide this energy, then we cannot do anything. We have to stick longer stick longer with fossils. Otherwise, there will be no place for nuclear on the market. Actually, that was the problem in our modeling. When we needed to place these gigawatts and decide when we should build it. It's 2025. 2035, 2040 2035 is not possible. 2040 is on the edge, but not realistic. 2045 doesn't work, because we will need a lot of electricity for power to X before that. And then we build renewables, and there is no space for nuclear anymore. So technically, everything's possible. But we need this energy for power to X now, and renewables is a better solution. And in a way, power to X solves the problems of renewables intermittency, and renewables solve the problem of power to X, demand for low-cost electricity. So again, here I don't see place for nuclear.
Thank you. Benedetto? My understanding is that, and I think you also touched on this, is that there has been 2 referendums in Italy where actually the society, people voted against nuclear energy, and it's written in the law that nuclear energy is not allowed in Italy. But now the current government actually is imposing new nuclear capacity in the next 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. So what are the policies, political mechanisms, ways in which the actual government is trying to put nuclear into place in the Italian context against the current law?
Okay, so quite complicated question, more from a law perspective. By the way, I think the key fact is whatever it was inserted as a goal in the energy planning, at least the only instrument that is now used by law, so the Integrated Energy and Climate Plan that was also approved by the European Commission. There are many projections. They should be monitored on the next year, so it will be stronger. This is my opinion. The way how, for instance, EU Commission will monitor how it's going, the plan, how most probably we should adjust the plan compared to what will be the situation in 1, 2, 3 years. They can, government can start this kind of initiative, but then the main obstacle will be what is the location of these possible plants, and then to justify to the people living in that location that of course is not something very compatible to be elected once you try to do this decision. We see already a lot of debate of what is generally called the NIMBY when we talk about waste incineration in Italy. So I see, even if for people that are declared as pro-nuclear for many other reasons, there would be also some good reason to be pro-nuclear. I said, it's not an energy issue. So in case Italian population decide according also in compliance with the other EU member states that maybe have a nuclear deterrence should be strategic for us. But then, again, energy will be a consequence. And as I said, great part of the cost of the LCOE we are talking about are not credible, are for sure underestimated, because the supply of the raw material will serve both for weapons than for energy. And this is a secret matter, so we don't know actually. We cannot say, this is maybe just my opinion, but we cannot really say what is the LCOE of nuclear energy in France. So what we see in the bills, so one French citizen seeing the bill that is going to pay 8-10 cents per kilowatt hour, but then you don't know how it's subsidized somehow for the defense part.
Thank you, Veneto. Jacob, one last question. So I think it was Veneto who actually showed nuclear energy basically being mostly developed now in China, US, Canada, and other countries. And yesterday we had a panel slightly on similar global issues, basically focusing on the industry side, but also on the transport side. And what should basically pathways should Europe take in this matter? So how do you see now the future of Europe? What decisions should actually be taken here, taking into account that other power countries such as China or US are actually developing this kind of technologies?
That's a big question. I think, so it's clear that the only really producer of nuclear in Europe is France. Else, major technologies that you can buy today, or major products you could buy today, would come from other countries, and it also reflects in Poland and where they're going with American technology right now for the first plants, and in Czech Republic or Czechia where they're going with the South Korean technology, and it's the same if you look at potential other projects. They will not be from from European investments, and the issue is also that the 3 plants that we are just finished in Finland or is about to finish or operate in France and Hinkley Point in the UK all had extreme high cost overruns, you can say. So there's also some criticism, skepticism. So of course it leaves the nuclear industry in Europe in an interesting spot, because what is left is then the whole debate that was touched on quite shortly on what about SMRs, but there's nothing in Europe available right now. So even though it may be developed and so on, it's uncertain anything really will happen before at least 2035 in terms of being close to having something ready for construction. And then we're even talking all the molten salt reactors, advanced, but then we're looking 2040, 2050, and we're looking into a situation where all our climate targets say we need to be done. It doesn't mean we can't keep developing beyond 2050, but we have to acknowledge that the industry we have to develop that is most obvious and can help us reach our targets will be in renewables, because the nuclear industry in Europe, I don't think will be ready to provide what is needed by 2050. And there are issues, as I said, with the French technology, because it has been so criticized even within the nuclear community, that it's not representative of how low you can, quote unquote, do it, because the low examples are Asian technology, Chinese and South Korean plants.
Thank you. So I haven't finished, and Neven is already raising his hand. So I'm gonna open the mic for the